the US. Thank you for joining today. Rolando Ferrini, Maestro, thank you for being there. Patrick, good to see you. Taras, Carlos told me a lot about the conversation yesterday. You guys are rocking. Baklap, it's great to see you. Oh, we have Keisha, Senia again, our friend from Fuji. Good to see you again. We have a really nice group of people here, and also a fantastic group of people in the YouTube universe. So it's 4 o'clock. Why don't we get the ball rolling? Why don't we get the thing starting? So hello, good afternoon, everyone here and in YouTube. My name is Jose Pozo, and I'm happy today because today we talk about micro-optics, which is by far the biggest boom I have seen in photonics since the telecom bubble. I'm not exaggerating. It has seen such a huge growth since the big success story of Heptagon. And now I see the companies doing the roll-to-roll manufacturing, companies doing the like Morphotonics in the roll-to-plate, companies in the nanoimplicitography sector, the two-photon polymerization. We're going to hear from Ruth later about how this is actually breaking the whole thing. And we have lots of companies on the user side, companies from Facebook. We have also the Huawei, even hybrid LiDAR on the automotive sector, listening to us and asking questions on the kind of things they can do together with us. So I have a few things to show you. The first one is something that you know very well, which is that I look really good in underwear. So this is how I look. And a couple of weeks ago, we had the idea of bringing the epic experience to the online world. This is today our number 8 event. So far, we got fantastic feedback from you, so we're going to continue. So I have to say that on Friday, we'll announce 15 other topics. I can already tell you that, for example, 3D printing is going to be there, beam shaping is going to be there. We're going to also attract 15 new topics to continue this fantastic online experience. Now we have 500 of you supporting us, 500 companies that are members of the association, which is great, and we keep doing our job. So basically, we keep pushing for everything in photonics from the presence meetings. So when the situation goes back to normal, the virus will look like a nightmare that we had in the past. When everything goes back to normal, we already have planned and working heavily on a set of upcoming meetings. For example, I would like to highlight the meeting that we have at Nanoscribe on the 5th to 6th of November 2020. Ruth is also going to be a speaker there, going over keynotes. It's going to be also a great event. I also would like to remind you that all of you are EPIC members, so all of you have access to our list of market reports. But in addition, you can also check the presentations that have been given at different EPIC meetings in the past. Here, for example, you go to epic-events.eu/LiDAR 2019, you can see the presentations of the meeting that we had at in Eindhoven on LiDAR technology and applications. And we keep buying market reports. I would like just to show you the market report we have in wafer level optics, especially for the camera manufacturing. Please have a look at it. It's actually quite good. And this is the biggest thing we have now. We are working so hard on having the biggest platform for finding a job in photonics. We really want to keep attracting talent worldwide and let them work in photonics like Sana and me are doing and having so much fun doing that. Jobsinphotonics.com, visit there. We are scouting the platform, we're scouting the technologies and the open positions of the 500 members, putting them there and looking for people who are looking for a job to make sure that we make that kind of match. And we are so happy about this. And with this, this is the agenda for today. So we have companies like Zeus, Morphotonics, Multiphoton. When they give me the agenda like this, I get a bit lost. I prefer the agenda like this. Actually, we have the micro-optics manufacturers talking to the end users in the automotive, in the space, in the sensor imaging, in industrial, in the optical networks, in the lighting. And with them, around them, we have the whole supply chain. From the metrology of Sensofar or MTS Optel, to the masks and molds from Sonex, to the production equipment like Multiphoton, Morphotonics, Nanoscribe, all the companies who are enabling the assembly and the volume production. All together, we can make very cool things. Before I give the word to the first speaker today, I would like to remind all of you and the people in the YouTube universe, hello YouTubers, that if you want to contact any of the participants today, all you have to do is send me an email, jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com, jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com. Send me an email and I will make that introduction happen. That's really what I do for a living. That's what Sana and I drive our passion to make sure we connect these people and to make sure that thanks to Epic, you start working with your peers. So why don't we get the ball rolling? And I think we have to start the meeting with perhaps an interest group. Today we have the whole value chain here, and we would like to start with the equipment manufacturers. And one of the companies that I visited in the past that makes me the most excited was when I went to Eindhoven, actually Veldhoven, and I visited Morphotonics. Morphotonics have made a huge impact in the roll-to-plate world, and actually managed to, a couple of years ago, to put a 3D display already in the market based on MicroOptics. Erhan, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. Do you want to be our starter or opening speakers today and telling us how Morphotonics is making a difference in the world?
Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Jose. I wasn't expecting to be the first one, but hey, it's actually 6 a.m. and my wife and daughter are sleeping upstairs. But
it is an honor reserved to very few of you, and I think because of the 6 a.m. in your local clock, you deserve it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll start off, no problem. So I am sharing my screen. Here we go. So again, thanks to Jose and Sana and Helena for putting this together. It's a wonderful event, and I keep following it. So we are honored to be a part of it and to present. So you may know about Morphotonics from your past interactions and from any of the, I have met some of you as recent as Photonics West in February in San Francisco. I see Henrik and a few other faces over there. So regarding Morphotonics, we are founded in 2014. We are a fairly young company. We have about 25 employees and growing. Essentially, at the end of the day, we are an OEM supplier of manufacturing equipment and consumables for especially large area nanoreplication and nanoimprinting. Our primary focus is displays, but we have also done a lot of work around lighting and solar and other applications. The companies, the founders of the company most of them are originally from Philips, and they were the ones who actually did a lot of work on Blu-ray disc work back at Philips when they did it with Sony. We have over 10 years of experience in mastering and nanoreplication, and for the last about 5+ years, we've been doing equipment related to large area nanoimprinting, and we have currently a 24/7 operational fully integrated line in Asia with one of our display customers, and some of it is public, as you may have seen. We sold a couple of units to Chemicon and one to CSEM. I see Rolando there, but there we have also a few other orders that are in the pipeline. So what do we sell? At the end of the day, like I said, we are an equipment company, and we try to be as agnostic as possible in terms of the applications that we go after. But obviously, we're keeping our eyes open on what the potential applications are. But along with that equipment, we have to sell some consumables, and those consumables, in our case, are consisting of flexible stamps. Essentially, these are submasters. Just to put it out there, we don't do any mastering. We actually depend on our customers to bring their own masters to us. But we also have partners that we work with. If a customer has any requirements, we can definitely help. And also we help with resins and UE materials, and we have a very, very competent center. We can help actually turn things around pretty quickly. So what you're looking at is essentially the principle of operation, the basic principle of operation, as you see, what we call as the roll to plate, versus on the one end of the spectrum, you got UV nil, wafer to wafer, step and repeat type of process. On the other end of the spectrum, you got roll to roll, which is continuous, low cost, process, which is well established. So we are sort of in between, and we think that we are complementary to both segments. We focus especially on very large area imprinting. We're talking about Gen 5 size currently is possible with our products, and we can either do very large areas, monolithic production of large area displays, for example, or we can have multiple smaller products that are piled on one flexible stem. And we have these flexible stems that are reusable. We can get up to 1,000 times of reuse out of them. And the types of structures specific, obviously, to micro-optics that can be anywhere from 500 micron down to 50 nanometers. We are as good as our masters are. And we have fairly fast tech times. We can, depending on the structure, etc., we can be 90 seconds, 60 seconds, a minute to a minute and a half. And, we have a variety of applications that we are targeting. So this is what I was talking about, referring to as far as the, value chain, if you will. We are in the middle, as you can see here, and we think that we can, help address the needs of many different types of customers by combining some of the benefits that come with wafer-based UV-Nil and roll. And again, this is highly customer and application specific. So specific to micro-optics, the types of applications we are looking at, and this is probably the most important slide, after my background on the company, for this audience, at least, there are lots of obviously emerging applications that are out there. But the ones that we see, our main focus, again, is displays. And the reason for that being is as the resolution especially gets higher and higher, more sophisticated light management structures are becoming more and more important. A perfect example is 3D or light field displays. Essentially, the world is going into the D-dimension in order to capture and in order to display and pack more information. Your eye is only limited to, there's a limit to what your eye can see, right, in 2D. But if you go to 3D, you open up a whole new opportunity. So that's why, sophisticated light management through the means of microlens arrays and DOEs are key to enabling displays such as, the one that Jose mentions, that one that we have worked on, and there are others that we are working on. That's one of them. Wider polarizers, backlight units for thinner and more efficient, higher brightness, higher contrast LCDs are also an area that's a focus for us. Anti-reflection layers for outdoor digital signage is definitely an area that we are also looking at. Privacy filters for displays. These are all possible things to micro-optics. And some of the emerging areas are waveguides for augmented reality. I mean, the jury is still out in terms of the opportunity with augmented reality, but over the next 3 to 5 years or more in that horizon, we think that there's definitely an opportunity there. Micro-LED displays, again, needs very sophisticated light guide management in the automotive world. Displays, LiDAR diffusers, I see limo there. These are definitely areas that light guide management is going to be key. So this is pretty much it. And I'm looking at my watch, and that's about right 6 minutes or so.
Thank you very much, Erhan, for a great presentation. Thank you for bringing starting the show with the role-to-play activities. This is I think your first ever Epic event, so you know how it works. I think I already told you offline. What can you do for the others? What can you do for them? And what can they do for you? What can they do for Morphotonics?
Great. So what we can bring to the table is obviously our equipment and our competence center, which means, if you have an application where you think that non-replication nil can be applicable, we're happy to take a look at the structure and at least give you feedback on whether that's replicatable. And if so, then we can definitely help you move to the next stage of doing samples. And first sample is always free, so we can definitely help you with that. So that's what we could do for others. As far as what others can do for us is, if you see any applications where you think that, especially a larger area, nano-replication might be of use, we're happy to have a conversation, and we're happy to try to help.
Excellent. Let's see who can help you. First, I have a question in the YouTube universe, and this is Malcolm Roundtree from Optical. Hey, Malcolm, how are you doing? He's actually wondering, any cross-contamination defect transfer you use a stamp multiple times, I guess?
Short answer is no, because as I had shown in one of the slides, our roll-to-plate principle of operation actually has a start and a stop. And when it stops, essentially it acts as a cleaning process. So every time you're actually doing the roll-to-plate, as the substrate comes out of the imprint, it's actually also a cleaning process. So the answer is no.
Any questions for Morphotonics?
Just maybe a remark for Morphotonics. You are active with the Fabulous project, right?
Yes, we are. We recently started, correct.
And maybe you can describe the input from Morphotonics.
Sure. I am not the most qualified to talk about it, as my colleagues that are based in the Multiphoton in Netherlands are the ones that are actively working with Rolando and company about it. But we are certainly, looking forward to figuring out ways how we can help. Freeform optics is definitely one of the potential silver bullets, if you will, to solve the problem, especially related to augmented reality, for example. And that's an area where we think that by nano-replicating in larger areas, we can actually make it manufacturable and cost-effective. So within the Fabulous program, the idea to validate the feasibility of such a product is key, and that's why we are here to help.
Excellent. And people want to help you, but I also want to help some people. So basically, I love when I connect the supply chain, and I want Erhan to meet my friend from Barcelona, Roger Artigas from Sensofar. Actually, I had a really nice talk with Sensofar with Roger 2 days ago, and he walked me through all the different application fields in which Sensofar is making a difference. Roger, as you have seen, Erhan is actually working on larger but MicroOptics-based displays. How do you think Sensofar could help Morphotonics in the inspection metrology world?
It's a good question. In fact, we provide at Sensofar metrology solutions that can be implemented online or even in situ. So you can do three-dimensional metrology inspection of your imprint process. So what Sensofar can help basically is in helping you on installing metrology equipment directly onto your process. We can measure roughness, and also we can measure shape and form of the micro-optics. So we can set up all the metrology chain in a way that can give a pass or fail for every part. The most challenging thing will be on the roll-to-roll application, because speed is really a challenge for metrology equipment, especially in micro-optics, where the highest lobes and the picture value of the parts require some seconds to do the measurement. So the parts needs to be stopped while they are being measured.
I honestly believe that.
I would like to make a comment just to make Sensofar aware that through Fabulous, we are screening them as potential provider of optical characterization and quality control for the entire domain of freeform micro-optics. So this is already ongoing.
Well, what a way to start in the afternoon. That's what the whole meeting is about. Thank you, Rolando. Erhan, we have another question. Erhan, we have another question from YouTube. This time is from the company in augmented reality. We have the company Clarity. And Clarity, actually, Yuval Ophir, which is the R&D manager, is wondering about the high durability of the multi-anti-reflective surfaces. Erhan.
If I understand the question, they're asking whether the durability of multi-structures would be over time. Yeah, so I mean, this is really a function of obviously the operation. I mean, in the case of, for example, augmented reality, the driving drive electronics behind the system does not really run too hot. It can't, because you're putting it on your eyes, on your face. So that's why we don't anticipate any problems which are related to overdriving or operation of multis. But again, we are not the system architects of augmented reality. We are the equipment suppliers, and we work with all kinds of different materials, whether that's plastics or glass substrates wise. So I mean, that's definitely a subject we can discuss.
Definitely something that we can be discussed later, and I think we have enough actually providers. But I would like to talk to Kensiya from Fuji. Kensiya, you have been developing different polymer coatings and different manufacture solutions for different markets, including AR, VR. Do you have any idea on the high duration of AR coatings? Actually, I have to say that this is a need from many different EPIC members these days. AR coatings at wafer level, on a plate level for high durability, with different regulations.
No, at the moment not, but I would like to connect via email and then maybe check with our experts in the company if they have maybe some suitable solution or ideas.
Fantastic. And now we continue with the program. Thank you very much, Erhan, for a great presentation, for the initial discussion. And we go to the beautiful world of two-photon polymerization. And I have here with me a dear friend and a person I look up to a lot in the optics industry, Ruud Houbertz. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. I really want everyone to know how beautiful, but also how functional the micro-optic structure made with the multiphoton optics machines are. The floor and the attention of everyone, and my friendship is yours.
Thank you. Show us the t-shirt, please.
Here's the t-shirt. I'm EPIC. So thank you so much. So I try to share. Oops, you see the screen?
Not yet. You need to use the delicate touch to click on the share screen.
I do this again.
The bottom.
I do this.
Yes.
And you see it. Great. Perfect.
Now we are in business. Go full screen. Yes.
I try that. Okay, here we are.
Ready to rock.
So, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present some of the beautiful data we achieve with our machines. Here you see one of our products. So it's about micro-optics, and what we will show today is tunable fabrication from standard to freeform, and it's all made in Germany or made in Europe, if you want so. And what we are looking at is all-in-one solution for transforming design ideas. So the products which do not yet exist, which need to be fabricated in future, have certain design ideas, and most of the fabrication methods, when you have one single method, cannot do the task. So what we do is we give a portion of this product to the customer, and to enable the industrial manufacturing. So the scale we are looking at is ranging from nano to micro, meso, and macro scale, and it's adjustable precision, and that is very important. So let me go to the next slide. So we started at 3D lithography, and in the last years, most of the people just caught the eye with the high precision 3D printing, which is only a part of the lithography story. So what we are looking at is, on the one hand, the product is the equipment, is a maskless lithography based on a two-photon or a multiple photon polymerization process. But not only that, So we look into digitized production. So if you have a certain idea, you can give us a call, and then you can end up with different things. One thing is you can actually do the additive fabrication, and here are 2 examples of a resist material of a clock and a watch in a part of a watch, and of a first metal printing we did. So this is the additive part. Then we do have the subtractive part. So these are positive resist lines, which are already developed, and some metal fabrication out of a customer project. And the third part is we can also work on and in glass, which is shown here. So this is an example where we do use other processes with this one machine. So what we basically can do is we originated in classical lithography with classical wafer scale lithography. So you can basically tune the dimension of what you would like to receive from 1D to very, very complex structures, and you can just fabricate them in more or less one step. So we're looking into independent maskless prototyping on arbitrary substrates. And if I say arbitrary substrates, I mean that. So this is not only for wafer scale, but it's also for submounts, for assemblies, for paper, for all kinds of different materials, hybrid polymers, resist materials, metals, glasses. And the manufacturing you have also already seen can be done additively, subtractively, other hybrid, combining these, putting the stuff in and out of the machine. So that is a very important tool here, so that we can actually tune this dimensionality with the machine. And here are some examples. So when you look at scalability, so here is an example on nanostructures. Actually, the smallest parts here are 300 to 400 nanometer in width. And I show later a much more sophisticated example. Then we go to microlens arrays. So that is a picture out of a 1 square centimeter array, mesoscale and macro scale. With the shape, you can basically create any shape you wish you would like to have, and also the size. So this is a structure which is on glass. So these are micro-optics of about 1 millimeter in diameter, also wafer level optics. And here you see, I see just Rolando's shading the screen here for me, is part of this array here. So you can basically put anything you would like to. So this is the worldwide first meta lens for visible. It's out of a European project. Here is an image in a video of an array of these meta optics. So the smallest structure is about 100 nanometer, and the largest is about 450 nanometer in diameter, and the height ranges from 300 nanometer to a micrometer. So this is a very, very nice example. The next example is working on an assembly. So here's the assembly. So this is an example out of a project with NanoPlus. They do IR lasers, and you see the laser here. The laser is already mounted. And what we do is we fabricate the optics directly on the facet of this little laser. And this is a very, very fast process and a very, very low cost process, because you do not need any assembly steps, and you also can avoid bulky optics and so on and so on. So that results in a very, very fast and versatile fabrication. So the testing of these devices is already more than 10,000 hours. Finally, another example from another customer's project is a retroreflector, which you see here. So this is done by our machine, and that is what the customer made out of that. So this is the nickel shim, and the next step is a step and repeat process. So that is done at the customer side, and will be delivered probably some results soon. I hope so, because that is what I would like to show you. And finally, let me sum up, because it's very, 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 it's much harder than having a German Science Foundation talk here. So this is a micro-optics on a VCSEL surface. This is a micro-optics on an LED, and all these are already assembled. You have seen this example from NanoPlus. You have seen the wafer scale. These are optical interconnects. This is out of a project. We also do medical parts with this, and they can be combined with the MicroOptics part. This is a bone cartilage structure of 7 millimeters in height. This is parallel fabrication. This is just a fun fabrication. You have seen the meta optics and you have seen the retroreflector. And with that, I would like to close, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so much. This is really a fascinating result. So now you presented what you can do, and you know how it goes with EPIC, right? We need to hear what can you do for the others.
What can we do for the others?
What can you do for them?
Okay.
Oh, what can they do for you?
What can they do for me? Oh, yeah. So they can actually share with us their most sophisticated ideas. They can buy equipment with us. They can use our services. We can also put our brains together to create a very new product. So I'm basically looking into the cell phone business here. So the cameras are sticking out. So I'm looking to the meta surfaces, and I'm looking to many things where it's not the, let's say, the classical optics, which is interesting for us. What is interesting for us is when one method cannot do the task, or the other method cannot do the task, or it's extremely complicated or expensive, we can actually make the difference in just joining the community and enable all the designs. So the designs we can create, or basically the designs we can fabricate for the customers, are very widespread. So we really do not care about the size and the height and so on. So our machine actually can have wafers similar to like large scale of about up to 5 centimeters in height. That is a lot. So you can also fabricate like structures on regular structures and so on. And we are very open to, but it should not be boring. That is very important for me actually, because it should be, you know, a win-win-win situation for everybody in the picture. That's very important to me.
I have people from YouTube getting crazy and asking me very cool questions. Actually, from Elbit in Israel, Yuval Ophir, he's saying, what is the largest aspect ratio you can do? He's actually saying, let's say 5 microns wide, 300 microns deep. That's really what he wants, but I think you can go much bigger than that, right?
So we have proven already that we did 63:1, but we are also clear that this is not the end. So we presented that last year in Japan already, that we scale actually the aspect ratio, and the largest we did was 63:1, but we all think in the company this is not the end. So.
Also, my friend Jorgen, he's wondering what kind of surface roughness is achievable for the optics.
So for the examples I've shown, except the micro lens array, we typically adjust the roughness to 20 to 30 nanometer. And the best we ever got was 2 nanometer. And so it's below 10 nanometer, 20, 30 and up. So it depends. So we also have customers who are asking us for, let's say, 100 nanometer. So you know where their application is. So this is basically related to the application wavelength.
Let us say hello to one of the people who are here for the first time in an EPIC event, James from Vadient. Thank you very much for joining. What is Vadient? How can the whole community help you in your optical designs?
Can you hear me?
Yes, with a bit of not so great quality, but we can.
Okay. Vadient 3D prints GRIN optics. So we create micro lens arrays, different types of optics. We're part of the MGRIN program for the government in 2014 here in the United States, and we continue along that work. So we have 2 production printers printing 125 millimeter optics an hour. And we create GRIN optics, which means we take monomers and load them with nanoparticles to sculpture the light. So my interest today with the micro-optics is looking for suppliers of materials where we make our own nanoparticles and do our own ligand chemistry, but we're looking for high index monomers to go with our low index monomers. And so we're 22 people located in Oregon.
Thank you so much for this introduction. I'm sure you will be satisfied.
What kind of materials? Sorry, Sarah, because this is very interesting. What kind of materials are you looking for? Maybe Patrick from DELO can help you somehow.
They'd be UV cured materials, but high index monomers.
Yeah. So what kind of index?
We're looking for indexes in between 1.65 and 1.7. On the low end, we're in the 1.4 area, and the trouble for us is we have to be able to jet them. So we use standard inkjet printers, inkjet heads, piezo heads to print. So our droplet size is in the picoliter range, and then it's all about mass deposition and the speed of the system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you so much.
It would be good for me if you can connect me afterwards, because at CSCM we do also printing by inkjet of micro-optics, and we develop some high refractive index materials, UV curable.
I will help you and will connect you commission free. You don't have to give me any commission for this fantastic sale. I have a question also from Neuchâtel, from SUS MicroOptics. Wilfred, thank you very much for joining this afternoon. I think you have a question, right? We have you muted.
Yes, thank you. Ruud, hello. Thank you for your talk. At what you said you worked for Nano Plus. Was that for 3 to 5 micrometers wavelengths? And do your polymers work also at longer wavelengths, around 10 micrometers?
Part of the window would work. That is something we're looking into. But we are working on their regular devices. But we can talk later a little bit about the absorption range.
Yeah, I would be interested for longer wavelengths. I think Nano Plus, it's around 5 microns max, typically. I don't know, maybe you know more. Let's talk offline then. Okay, thank you.
I hope I know more.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, we will hear more from Swiss MicroOptics right away with Reinhard.
Yeah, did he join by now?
He's here, yeah, he's here.
Okay, now he's here.
Here I am, no worries. Sorry. Okay, so I tried to share my screen.
Very good. We can see it.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. SUS MicroOptics. We're now 20 years manufacturing high quality micro-optics. We work on 6-inch and 8-inch wafers. We will have this year probably 30 to 35,000 wafers we manufacture and sell. We had a compound annual growth rate of 30% for the last 5 years, strong growing. And we're part of SUS Microtech. That means if you have mask aligners, coders, mask cleaners, whatever, you know them. In former times they were called SUS. Okay, we're automotive qualified. What are we doing? What you can see here is a wafer inspected in a clean room. So we have a clean room standard. What is the micro-optics we're doing? It's a very classic refractive optical elements, lenses, from 10 micron to about 2 millimeter, diffractive optical elements up to 16 level, hybrid micro-optics. That means we can combine diffractive, refractive, plateaus, fiber grooves, V grooves, a prism on the front and the back side, and we cut it down to the smallest pieces are smaller than 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. What are the applications? What I was doing here is I plotted the market shares we had last year, and I plotted the number of clients. So you can see we have 32 clients from R&D, but they only have a very small share of our revenue. optics industry, laser beam shaping. We're also important for the Corona COVID-19 because we have confocal microscopes, which are used for all the analysis, skin treatment, semiconductor with 10% is still good business. Major business is fiber coupling. That means all these Zoom conferences, all this data, all what we're doing in our home office, we'll see all the time micro lens arrays from us for coupling light out of waveguides and coupling it into fiber. And recently we started an adventure in automotive lighting, which is now almost half of our business. And if you buy, if the home office and everything is over, you buy a new car, a BMW, you might get our light carpets. There's also, we see a big future. We had, some of you were in Neuchâtel on the wafer level optics. So this is our newest light carpet for a GM Buick in China. So Chinese taxis have it. We will have soon some front lights with micro lens arrays. And there's also a trend for interior lighting to have very beautiful colors and animated things in your car. Do we need this? I don't know, but people buy it. That's the interesting thing with interior lighting. What we do also, we have an imprint excellence center. That means if you run a fab and you want to have millions of wafers and you say, okay, the guys in Switzerland, they can do some 10,000 or 100,000 wafers, but not the millions, then we can sell our complete imprint production line to you for your fab, wherever that's located. MicroOptics, that's it. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you very much, Reinhard. It's great to have SÜSS MicroOptics growing so quickly. The epic question, what can they do for you? What can you do for them?
The epic question. So we have 180 customers. So that means, what do? We sell MicroOptics. What do we need? We need to connect with all the customers, building modules, building systems, integrating our MicroOptics, because we do only what we can do best, and that's MicroOptics. So, and MicroOptics is always a part of a big system. So then we have Rolando with a fabulous project, European project. We have a pilot line there, and we have connections with Patrick from DELO, and I see Dirk from Limo and some other partners. So yes.
Let's make more connections. So one of the secrets of the sauce in the replication is to get great molds, right? To get great.
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine from a beautiful city, Aachen in Germany. I look forward for the virus to go over to drink a lot of beers over there. Benjamin, ¿cómo estás?
I never saw this guy. I never saw this guy.
What does SONEX can do to companies in the field of replication?
Well, thank you for introducing me. I know Reinhard as well. We can produce very high accurate optical masters, optical molds with a variety of geometries such as lens arrays. As probably there is some, how to say, I need to be careful what I say, but there are some interesting applications where we are producing lens arrays, molds for lens array manufacturing in high volume, where SONEX can be of help.
I also thank you, Benjamin. Muchas gracias. And I want to introduce also a friend of mine, a new friend. JENOPTIK is sort of a newcomer in the field of EPIC. We are very happy to have you here with us. Could you tell us a bit what JENOPTIK can do in the field of micro-optics? Let me unmute you. Yeah, we can hear you well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi to everyone. Yeah, indeed, we are a fresh fish here. We joined EPIC just a couple of months ago. Let me share probably a few slides about our company. Let me talk here. Okay. Do you see the slide?
Not yet, but you need to use the delicate touch that you're famous for and click on the button share at the bottom. Share screen.
Yeah, I did.
And it will ask you which screen you want to share, and then you select the one that you like the most.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. This one.
Yes, you
Perfect.
made it.
I'll be very brief. We are a 10 years old company, and we are focusing specifically on measuring optics. Probably I'm not that part of the game, which we're talking right now, because we are mostly measuring large optics. The smallest parts which we're able to measure was 5 millimeters, and that was our probably the limit currently. We are measuring transmission and reflection at different angles and different polarizations. The key point, which is our core competence and technology, is that we are able to measure from 195 in UV range up to 5.2 micron in the infrared, and we can do all these things within one setup, within one system, one instrument, without changing any fixtures, accessories, attachments. So fully automatic. And
it's a great success story, and we're going to organize a whole meeting on optics from AR/VR, in which you're already in the program. But you could summarize quickly in the field of micro optics. What could you do for the companies that we have today in the room?
If you can see the picture right now, do you see the picture?
No, I think you're sharing the wrong screen. But just tell us, it's okay.
You see it?
No, you're sharing the wrong screen. You're sharing the screen.
Hold on, please. I'll try to find the way to show you the screen.
The field of metrology for optics is a field that is growing dramatically, but I had the feeling that we need to have a whole separate meeting on standardizing the metrology of micro-optics. That's something that we discussed already a lot with Reinhard at the meeting that we organized at SUS Micro-Optics last year, and it's a big headache for us. So we want to organize a whole meeting on metrology for micro-optics to really make sure that we're comparing apples with apples and oranges with oranges. Taras?
Okay, I can switch over to my screen. What we can do for the members of EPIC is that we can offer our technology and knowledge for ex-situ measurement of optics. And the most interesting thing is that if someone has some challenging requests or questions regarding the measuring of small parts, small components, which are not possible to measure with traditional approach or traditional technologies, probably we can do this. We are quite experienced in this particular field.
Thank you so much, Taras. And I'm sure that in the meeting on optics for AR/VR, freeform for AR/VR, people are going to really fully understand the kind of things you can do for them. But I'm impressed with the metrology solutions that you can provide. And we're going to go to the capital of optics in Europe, to beautiful Jena, to talk to Tim from JENOPTIK. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. Tell us the role of JENOPTIK in the field of micro-optics.
Okay, thank you for the great introduction. Unfortunately, I'm not calling in from Vienna. I'm calling in from the capital of, well, no, not the capital of anything, Huntsville, Alabama, here in the US. So thank you for organizing this meeting today. Are you able to see my screen?
Fantastic. All the way from Alabama, beautiful, sharp, crystal clear.
Great. Let me do this. Great. So thank you, everybody, for virtually sitting in. Thank you for organizing the conference and for the invitation. I appreciate it. My name is Tim Lindsey. I'm the director of micro-optics here in JENOPTIK, again, from the US side of things. I think a lot of people are familiar with JENOPTIK as a whole, but today I want to talk specifically about the micro-optics products and specifically a little bit more about the refractive products that we've been manufacturing here. So hope everybody is surviving in this self-quarantine world. I see everybody's haircuts are a little bit better than mine these days, but thank you again. So anyway, we've been making micro-optics since 1997, and specifically we offer our customers very unique and flexible design capabilities using grayscale photolithography. Grayscale photolithography allows the customer to make not just standard spherical and aspherical lenses, but also more complex freeform shapes, including anamorphic shapes, high numerical apertures, polynomial surfaces, and off-axis designs as needed. With wafer level manufacturing, we can also scale to volumes. We're typically talking about middle volumes. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands of wafers a year. We're usually talking about thousands and tens of thousands of wafers a year. grayscale photolithography, we can make multiple optical functions in a single side, multiple optical functions from side to side, including prisms and reflective designs. It's not just the photo patterning we offer at JENOPTIK MicroOptics. We can also etch a variety of materials so our customers aren't limited to simple glass and silicon materials, but we can etch materials that are transparent from the deep UV, including calcium fluoride and sapphire, in the visible, high index materials like gallium phosphide, silica, and other glasses, but also in the infrared as well. So we can etch materials like gallium arsenide, silicon, germanium, zinc selenide, zinc sulfide, other materials like chalcogenide materials and others as well. All this is done with the flexible manufacturing technology, giving our customers a unique design solution. And in volume manufacturing, our fabrication in the US is capable of handling wafers from 2 inches all the way up to 8 inches diameter, and thicknesses from around 100 and 200 microns all the way up to 8 millimeters in thickness. So a very flexible foundry here fabricating these optics. The pictures you see on the slides here are some examples. You've got some components on the left where you can see different coatings and different shapes and sizes, because our customers aren't just interested in technology. In the end, they want components. They want things that will help them make their product more efficient and also easy to manufacture. At the bottom, you can see some of these also slides showing some grayscale. These are features from a few microns in size up to many millimeters in size. These ones at the bottom are typically a little bit smaller. I show a freeform surface, which is a beam shaper here at the bottom, excuse me, a spiral faceplate. And then I show some high fill factor lenses for fill factor enhancement, then some homogenizer shapes where I can make multiple optical functions in a single surface, similar to what we've seen in some of the previous applications. These are all etched into these variety of materials. A quad lens for collimating or focusing from four sources into a single fiber, off-axis truncated aspheric lenses and polynomial surfaces. So these kind of show some of the capabilities and, that we can offer and that our customers demand and require from us. But it's not just the unique and flexible design capabilities. We can also offer our customers in their components precise mechanics. It can be simply alignment marks, which can be registered to a few tens of nanometers, but can also be depositing solder reflowable materials like gold tin eutectics with, again, tens of nanometer registration to our lenses. So now our customers can use pick and place technology and reflow technology to align to their surface emitting lasers or to couple onto their grading coupled devices such as silicon photonics. But it's not just that, it's also adding large holes or slots into the material next to the optics with micron level precision. So now our customers can use precision pins, fibers, or ball lenses to couple light using self-aligning structures from their components, their devices, their silicon photonics devices through our optics and into their lasers or detectors. And down at the bottom, I show more traditional assemblies that we do in our clean room here in Huntsville and also around the world at JENOPTIK, aligning our micro-optics to traditional mechanics, optomechanics, precision optomechanics, other optical systems, but also active alignments to fiber arrays and also wafer level stacking for different various applications such as beam steering or imaging or planoptic imaging, whatever it might be. And then finally, I wanted to go through a quick applications examples that might be of interest to our audience here. We've already talked a little bit about the telecommunications world, fiber optics. That's the most traditional of applications for microlenses. In the world of transceivers and high data rates, the volumes are increasing rapidly, but more rapidly are decreasing the costs. And as a result, you need to be able to assemble and align these micro optics much more efficiently. And at JENOPTIK, we're providing unique structures to fit into V-grooves or silicon optical benches to reduce the manufacturing time of these and thereby reducing the overall cost. We also offer some standard products for rapid prototyping to get product into the customer's hands so that they can develop their products. Another emerging applications we haven't talked too much about in the infrared are the quantum cascade lasers. These lasers are being used for far-off detection of different types of agents. It could be used also, they're being investigated for investigation of these COVID viruses and such. And in that case, we need to have infrared compliant materials such as germanium or zinc selenide or sapphire. You need aspheric lenses to collimate and couple light from these quantum cascade lasers into the system. And so grayscale and wafer level manufacturing is a great fit for that. And finally, in the world of LiDAR illumination, you need to be able to satisfy multiple requirements from very high efficiency for the long range to broad angles for the short range and everything in between. We also can make high fill factor lenses for avalanche photodetectors in this particular market as well. So again, the grayscale photolithography is a very flexible technology. The wafer level manufacturing allows for low cost and high volume manufacturing. And that's just a very small cross-section of what we do for MicroOptics at JENOPTIK. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach me at the contact information below, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this great talk and for the wide applications. So let me know if someone wants to collaborate with you, what type of collaboration would you offer to the partners?
Well, we're interested in manufacturing of micro-optic components. So we would be very interested to know more about the applications here. And again, from a grayscale standpoint, we're able to fabricate unique shapes. So much like the earlier presenter, I'm particularly interested in these unique types of applications. So I'd be happy to discuss those with you. Again, we're interested in manufacturing the volume of production of these types of components.
Does anybody I think Rolando will have a lot to tell you about this, right, Rolando? Does anybody have, yeah, go ahead. Okay, does anybody have a question? Okay, otherwise I would like to present Nanoscribe, Henrik from Nanoscribe now. I have to remind you that we have the EPIC meeting on advanced micro-optics, simulation, fabrication, and characterization at Nanoscribe. That will be from the 5th to the 6th of November. Henrik.
I was going to sort of end my presentation with that, but we'll get that in the end, I guess. I will start to, let's see, where am I?
Thank you for joining us, and we'll be very happy to see
you. Sure, let's see, are we, let's see the slide. Can everyone see that slide?
Yes.
Good. And I don't have a borderline on the side, I hope, blocking the presentation. So thank you, EPIC, for letting me do a short 6-minute presentation. So 6 slides, 6 minutes. I'm lucky enough to have Ruth from Multiphoton before me to show sort of what you can do with 2-photon polymerization and so on. That's quite advantageous. Being further down the line in the presentations. So I will actually do a very, very short recap of what Nanoscribe is, and then I will talk about the market situation for polymer optics and what we see coming forward in the next 2 years. If that's okay with you. So shortly, Nanoscribe is a 12-year-old company. We have 3 offices. The headquarters is in Karlsruhe, Germany, and that is where we will have the EPIC meeting in November. We also have a sales and service office in Boston that we opened quite recently, and they serve the Americas. And then we have a sales and service office in Shanghai that serves our customers in Asia Pacific. Right. Nanoscribe is not only a manufacturer of tools, we're actually a service provider. So we also produce and deliver matching resins, also high refractive index resins, as was spoken about earlier on. We also do our own software tools. We do the processes needed to manufacture on an industrial level. And we have a support team of, I believe there are 13 people now, I might be correct enough. So we have a worldwide span of service offices as well. So onwards and forwards, we see 2 large trends when it comes to polymer micro-optics. The first one I'd like to talk about is the direct printing of micro-optics. As you can see on your right side of the screen, it's one of our customers' products. It's a refractive lens with diffractive elements on top. This is possible with the tools that we are manufacturing. And we see that the prototyping, such as these, it's a real product that can be used directly. And the prototyping, for example, the smartphone manufacturers, we are in contact with all the major smartphone manufacturers. They can do prototypes instead of 2 months, and the time limit of making a prototype for the smartphone manufacturers is so that they send their prototype out, they get it back, and they basically have no time to do any changes to it. But with polymer optics, and writing with direct printing of MicroOptics in polymer, they can now do much faster prototypes, and they can do several iterations before the deadline is set and production has to start. As you know, the smartphone manufacturers have to make millions, hundreds of millions of phones, so the schedule is quite tight. The second trend that we see really bursting out these years is mastering. So using two-photon polymerization to make a polymer master. So instead of having a master for mass production in tool steel, which takes between 1 and 2 months and costs hundreds of thousands of US dollars to manufacture, you can quickly and easily make a small master, you can test it, you can make a large master, and then just like Ruth said before, you put a nickel shim on top of the polymer master, and that can be used directly in, for example, plastic injection molding and now even metallic injection molding. And we see our products, they can do concave masters for nano imprint lithography and convex masters for injection molding. And as it says on the bottom, surface roughness better than 10 nanometers. It's actually far less than that. What you can see here, a few examples. You have a microlens array on your top left. There's a millimeter size lens, so it's just under 2 millimeters in your bottom left. There's a concave in the middle on the 2-inch wafers, a concave master, and so on. Right, let's go to the next step. So to meet these challenges that the industry have, we have designed the new Nanoscribe Quantum X that was presented last year. It's a system made for industry use directly. And we have done this because we see that the market trends for the coming 2 years needs to be taken care of. There needs to be a system to be able to handle these. So we see from our customers a huge increase in time of flight or LiDAR applications and other non-imaging sensors for smartphones. We see a huge demand in refractive lenses with diffractive elements. That means that previous manufacturing methods where you have reflow doesn't work. Also, DOEs are getting far more advanced. You build them up with stacked of optics, DOEs interacting with other DOEs, and therefore the new quasi-continuous DOEs with multiple levels, 256 or 1,000 levels, small pixels to have a great projection angle, and they have started to trend up to 10 to 30 micron high, which means that previous E-beam and laser lithography and manufacturing methods doesn't work in reality. Also, I would like, since we had, we talked to Morphotonics and SUS has been speaking over before, nano imprint lithography, we can really see that coming back again. It's a great comeback. Nano imprint lithography has been sort of trending before, but the cost of the masters have been too high. Now that you can do great masters in polymer instead, we really think that the nano imprint lithography will come back. So keep an eye on that. So last slide before we end this, we just moved into ZEISS Innovation Hub. This January, everyone was so happy to come in, and then we had to stay in home office instead. So we basically waiting for the plants to show up still. There are a few of us are going there to water the plants, but we're working a lot from home office. But with that, I would like to stop here and invite you. Don't forget, 5th to 6th of November, there will be an epic event at the ZEISS Innovation Hub. Thank you.
Fantastic, such a beautiful, beautiful building. What do you think I'm going to ask you, Henrik? What can you do for them? What can they do for you?
So basically, our business model is we are a solutions provider. We can provide the machine with the materials, the knowledge, and everything else to our customers. When you want to have a master, we have customers with the latest technology in North America, in Europe, and in Asia, and they can provide you with all the necessary masters or direct optics printed, of course. We have sold several hundreds of machines, and they are available at universities and companies and so on. So what we want is that you keep your hearts and minds open for polymer optics, plasmonics, and photonics.
Keep your hearts and minds open, and that's a great takeaway from this. But I have a few people that I want you to meet, and the first one is coming all the way from beautiful Paris, Palaiseau, Marshall from JENOPTIK. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon.
Hello, everybody. I was a little late to this meeting.
No, you were fantastic. You were just in time because I wanted you to speak just after Nanoscribe. What do you think you can do in the field of both with JENOPTIK and also with Imaging Eyes? What kind of things can you do with the MicroOptics community, also with Nanoscribe in particular?
We have the ability to measure a large scale of different optics at JENOPTIK. We have wavefront sensors that are able to measure some micro-optics, freelance, liquid lens, up to big telescope mirrors. We can access to all kind of measurements with our systems. So we can help any one of you making some optics to measure, to qualify your optics. So we have this capability.
JENOPTIK has now a sister company called Imaging Eyes, and Imaging Eyes is in the field of retina imaging, right?
Exactly.
Is there an application field there for micro-optics?
Probably. We have to ask our specialist because it's a different company. It's a sister company, but yes, we probably will have some volumes in the next years. Let's see. It's a new product. So.
Merci beaucoup. Back to Nanoscribe. I have a question that you're going to like very much, coming all the way from Russia. It's called Tech. Nikolai Olikovsky, he's wondering, do you have any examples of polymer connections between photonic integrated circuits and fibers, or between lasers and fibers?
Yes, we do. So I've chosen to show the micro-optics currently today because there is an epic series of events. So I would say stay tuned for the later seminars when you actually will get into the photonic wire bonding and such.
I think they are not only Nanoscribe, but also Icon Photonics has something very unique, and you're going to tell us later, but the use of micro-optics for accurate coupling of light into a fiber. I'm so amazed what Carlos has done, and I think there's also clear collaboration there. Henrik, thank you very much for a great presentation. Keeping the people's eyes and hearts open. And we go to Catalonia, we go to Roger, we go to Sensofar. For me, one of the success stories of the European ecosystem. I'm very happy to have you here with us this afternoon. Tell us how Sensofar can help all these micro-optics manufacturers and the end users in the field of micro-optics manufacturing. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jose. So I will share my screen now.
Yes.
Okay.
Here is coming. I think we are in business.
Okay.
Yes, just go slide mode. You're in business, the floor is yours.
Okay, so let me introduce Sensofar. We are a medical company based in Barcelona, very close to Barcelona. We are a company that has been founded about 20 years ago, coming from the Technical University of Catalonia, and we are focusing basically in designing from the scratch all the technology related to three-dimensional metrology of surfaces using optical technology. So Sensofar is a company that is manufacturing all the products from the headquarters close to Barcelona, but we have also offices, commercial offices in the US, in Germany, China, Shanghai, and also in Taiwan. And then we have the rest of the world, we have a distribution channel based basically through distributors. So we are today about 50 people in the headquarters in Barcelona and up to a total of 65 people in the world. So going to the technology, Sensofar is a company that is focusing basically in the micro metrology. So we focus our products basically using microscopes where we design optical and mechanical and electronics to the purpose of three-dimensional metrology. The optical technologies that we use and we dominate at Sensofar are basically the ones you are seeing here on this slide. So we're using confocal, interferometry, spectroscopic reflectometry, fringe projection, and focus variation. There are many differences between all of them. I will not go into detail to all that technologies, but just to give you a very brief introduction, confocal is a technology where you can measure steep surfaces in optically smooth surfaces down to 1 nanometer roughness. Interferometry technology is basically used for very flat surfaces like wafer, or also semiconductors on MEMS. But also if you want to measure roughness on the nanometer scale, like the ones you were presenting on the previous presentations, that's the best technology to use to this kind of sub-nanometer or nanometer level roughness. Fringe projection is something that we implemented very recently into the company, but it's basically to measure very big things. It's not on the micro level for very small things, but on the other side is to measure parts that are more in the millimeter size. Finally, focus variation is a technology that we implemented at Sensofar to measure very rough surfaces where you have very steep angles and highly scattering surfaces. So if you look a little bit into the technologies, we end up with two kinds of family products. The ones we call the systems, these are products that are tabletop and mainly manually operated products. So you put the part over there and the system is able to measure, but you have to be the one clicking here and there on the software, making the system to be used and to get the measurements. These are the family of products. From the left, we have this fringe projection new system that was launched into the market 1 month ago. So it's pretty new. Then the second one is an hybrid technology product where you can measure surfaces with three-dimensional surfaces using any one of the available technologies. So confocal, focus variation interferometry, and spectroscopic reflectometry is integrated in the same product. The other ones are more or less the same thing, but in different configurations, like 5-axis systems. The S-Links is basically is a basic system, so it's an entry-level system. And finally, the last one on the right is a very high-speed interferometer. So the cycle time for that product is about 2 seconds, more or less. Then we have a line of products. We call them integrable sensor heads. These are more or less the same as the previous ones, but the difference is that we target our customers for OEM integration. So we have this line of products with a fully programmable SDK, where you can program remotely the three-dimensional metrology unit to provide you the numbers you are requesting to them. And this means that you can trigger a measurement and get just a number. So you don't have to care about anything in the middle, like scanning parameters or focusing the sample or analyzing the part. So everything is going through a process flow that is going from trigger down to the measurement. And then this measurement can be used on your process to decide if your part is okay or it needs to be rejected. So just to give you some examples how Sensofar is providing solutions for the micro-optical manufacturing, here we have some of our customer applications for the improving of the morphological properties of the silica and sol gel deposited on silicon oxide layers using microfabricated parts with a laser. So our customer is responsible to do the manufacturing of these parts, and then with using the Sensofar products, we can measure, for instance, the shape of the part or the roughness of the part. Another very example is laser-induced multiphoton polymerization or zirconium parts, where you have these polymers that has been manufactured in the shape of a microlens. So again, the Sensofar products are used not for the manufacturing, but for the metrology assessment of the part by measuring the shape and roughness and providing directly no-go of this part or further investigations on the manufacturing process. Another example is for the hemispherical ultraviolet curable polymers using imprint lithography, where you can have the microlens on a wet and dry states, and you need to, somehow, you need to do the metrology to recognize where is how the part looks like along this process. So again, Sensofar is able to provide solutions to measure just on your research level or during your manufacturing process to decide if the part is going into the right direction or not. So this is my talk today, so I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much. Metrology for micro-optics is one of the critical topics and the most sensitive, and fast metrology is also very important here. I would like to ask our friend here, Derek from Limo, what do you do? Can you describe a little?
So we produce micro-optics made of glass and wafer basis, of course, and our specialty is that we structure free-form cylindrical structures for beam shaping, light of high power lasers, but also low power laser, high pulse energy lasers, for example, LiDAR applications. And of course, the goal these days is to bring this to mass production and to high quantities. And therefore, of course, we are looking for automatic inspection technology. So that's really the key of the business right now.
Okay, so I see a possible opportunity here of business. So we heard now what you can do for them, and now we want to know what can they do for you.
So we need, of course, test systems on wafer level to inspect 300 millimeter wafer with micro lenses automatically to measure the geometry, but also to make optical tests. Of course, both is quite time consuming, but right now we think between 1 and 10 minutes per wafer is the goal. And if someone can help us, that would be very nice. But of course, these measurements go to automotive applications, for example, high power laser applications. So therefore, the mapping of the performance on the wafer is really important.
Okay. And Roger, what kind of collaboration are you looking for?
I see several possibilities here. One could be just business-to-business possibility. So you contact us, we see if we can offer to you one of our standard products. So we already have 300 millimeters solution for wafers for using fiducials and automatic measurements on different parts. But on the other side, we like to say to our customers that we are not selling to your product, but we are helping you with a solution. So if you have really a problem that we cannot solve you with right from the brochure products, we work with you to provide you a solution. So just contact and we talk.
Okay, this is very nice. And we have another company that will speak now, Attendees. Optel, Ruud van Oers. Do I say your name correctly?
Yeah, it's a difficult Dutch name, but no problem. It's Ruud.
Sorry.
But not a problem. Yes, Derek, I think if you're typically looking at inspection, yeah, can be able to help. Are able to help. Run through my presentation, which will probably also provide some answers. So my name is Ruud van Oers. I'm sales responsible, working at NTS.
Ruud, I think you are sharing the wrong screen. I think now you have two screens in front of you and you're giving us the one that you want to keep for yourself.
Ah, very good.
When you click on the share, you can really select the one with the full screen. So you should just select
I know
the
how
other
it
one.
works, but
Otherwise, just unplug the second screen and then we are in business.
yeah, that's probably the good idea.
Yeah, I like the unplugging stuff. Very, very good.
Does this work or?
Yes, the go slide mode, and I think it will work really well when you do that. Yes, I think it's coming slowly but surely. No, Nijmegen still is not giving us what we're expecting. So you need to share the other screen. Let's just quickly.
You can, when it says display settings, you can just say swap screens at the top. Try that. Can you hear me? Where it says display settings at the top, if you click there, you can say swap screens.
One of the things that NTS Optel has joined EPIC for is because they are very active in metrology for the 3D for the 3D sensing in the consumer electronics. Now we're in business. Ruud, thank you well for your tithe.
Excellent, excellent. Your Dutch is good. Yeah, so thank you for covering for the interruption. I think in retrospect of your remark, we're more in the inspection field. And I will briefly run through my slides to give you a glimpse of what we do. Short introduction of NTS Optel, our capabilities, what we do with respect to optical modules and systems, and which typical test parameters we cover with our equipment. Some examples of how we solve that and with which type of equipment, and technical challenge and solution directions. And of course, you're free to ask questions afterwards. NTS Optel, we're a high-tech engineering manufacturing company, and we specialize in applied optics, optomechatronics, imaging, and laser technology. We're part of the NTS group, which is around 1,700 people big, and we have quite a global footprint. We recently opened our new facility in Nijmegen, and the activities we execute is consultancy, design, and co-development. And we're also capable of the product design, the prototyping, and series production. So we see ourselves as a first-tier partner to OEM companies in providing them with smart solutions. And it's stated here, when standard available products cannot solve the question, we are capable to investigate and design a dedicated solution. And we typically use the optical techniques such as laser, custom optics, spectroscopy, vision, and LED. And we do also the prototype manufacturing and the volume manufacturing in close cooperation with our sister companies in prototyping, sheet metal, granite machining, and ultra-precise machining of components. We do all the assembly in our clean rooms, which are of several grades. And if you look at the NTS specific capabilities, as mentioned, we do custom designs where we use all optical techniques such as vision, laser triangulation, interferometry, diffraction, spectroscopy, and we do that in the full light spectrum. In addition, we're capable of engineering electronics, or at least PCBA boards, which are customized, and we do the embedded software. Together with the mechanics, we are capable of providing the one-stop shop solution. Here are some examples of what we did. Some practical examples which we have developed. So this is a UV beam homogenizer for a specific semicon application. We do medical applications. In this case, this is an endo illuminator used in eye surgery. We have 3D scanning of rooms. We have a setup which measures the microcirculation in veins. And last but not least, we have a LiDAR system where we typically prove a chip performance. Just to give a small glimpse of what we do as NTS. if we go to the micro-optics area, we typically do inspection on DOEs, ROEs, MLAs, and in general micro-optics. Where typically questions we solve as test parameters are, for instance, relative zero or power measurements, occurrence of hotspots, total diffraction efficiency, the horizontal and vertical diffraction and refraction angles, spot line or laser line powers, pattern contrasts, spot and line qualities in with have maximum, homogeneity, low and high frequency inhomogeneity of the diffuser, and of course a large variety of parameters which can be asked to us. To give you an idea, we do the wafer level optics. We also do the modules in which the optics are integrated. To give you an example, on one of our test systems, we can do direct imaging and rear projection, whereas this is typically a rear projection measurement system. Direct imaging via conoscope is of course without a projection screen. We have manual versions and automated versions, and as mentioned, we typically supply these customized. What we in meanwhile have gained is a lot of experience and reusable technology, which enables a smart and efficient development and customization for our customers. This is typically on wafer level. These are typically how we treat modules where we use front projection. So we don't look from the top of the screen, but we look parallel to the beam, which is the output on qualifying the performance of the dot. Typical technical challenge we've seen and solved. So large field of view, where we use custom aspherical objectives, low sensitivity drop-off, where we're capable of again customizing aspherical f-theta objectives with low distortion and distortion calibration targets, and we do that without vignetting. Tolerance and wafer surface location, so custom optics designed with a large entrance pupil. We cover the working distance by also adjusting our optics design. And typically what you see with these type of projection screens is that you might get any speckle, where we typically move the projection screen to resolve that. If we look at specific laser modules, so we are capable of lasers and temperature controlling them. So we also sort of adapt custom laser or with standard lasers so that they operate in the way we would like. In addition, on top, so RF modulation is an example of that. Spot size fitting in the active area. So custom apertures which block certain beams which might distort, and beam quality. So for the majority of solutions, we use spatial filters. Some generic ones, so wafer handling, gripping and clamping. So we can do customized chucks and customized clamping solutions. That also goes for large warps and bows. And we are capable of using a custom stage, mitigating sort of that measurement. Pitch variations, sensitivity drift of patterning images with, again, via thermal control. And of course, the calibration of, for instance, the distortion with the reference grating, the laser power level, which we can calibrate, which is also integrated in the examples I showed you. I think in basis, that's the summary of what we can do with respect to inspection of micro-optics. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Ruth, for a great presentation. I have been to your facilities in Nijmegen. Congratulations on the new building as well. Luckily, it's gonna be reopened very quickly when the whole thing or the whole virus thing is over. Ruth, what can you do for these nice people, and what can they do for you?
That's a very good question. I think me, or at least my colleague as well, is in contact with quite some people already. So that's good. We're already infiltrated in the EPIC association, let me put it that way. And of course, as Dirk just mentioned, I would be interested to see if we could mean anything for demo specifically.
One of the things that I have been most impressed with NTS Group, and also with NTS Optel, has been the pushing for the high volume consumer electronics market. You've been already targeting different applications in the packaging of pixel arrays for face detection. Could you tell us a bit of that story? Because I think many people here are interested in entering that market.
Yeah, I think if you look at sort of the first experience we had in this area, it already goes multiple years back, where we already started discussing on, for instance, the facial recognition stuff, which is used in the computing industry, gaming industry. I think that's also where, not for consumer purposes, that was sort of becoming the masses, and you now see it more and more infiltrated, within smartphone technology, and we have sort of experienced the evolution there. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
Any questions for my friend Ruud? Ruud, how about if you had a system that could actually very efficiently couple pixels with micro-optics at wafer level in very low cost in the high volume? Would you be happy of having that?
Yeah, low cost is challenging.
Let's see what Carlos can do about this. Carlos, do you think you could do something like that on that lines? Every time that any EPIC member helps a startup, they make me happy. They make my heart grow a little bit. So this presentation is from a startup company from EPIC, and they are in business. I think soon they will be acquired. I hope you guys can help Carlos with his challenges. Carlos, Icon Photonics, the iconic company in packaging of pixels. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jose. I'm very happy to be here for the first time and to learn so much with you guys, and at the same time share a bit what we do at Icon Photonics. So I will talk about the monolithic and integrated micro-optics solutions. Here mainly focus on indeed fiber optics applications. I will start, of course, most of you probably don't know us, so who are we? So we are a spin-off company, Icon Photonics, located in Paris, east of Paris. And we are 3 associate partners, myself, Charles Goyder, and Jolie Poulot. We are indeed supported by this research institute, ESIE Paris, where we have this great team with great experience on collective manufacturing process. So let me tell you a bit, first of all, about the context. Here, as I said before, I will focus on the data communications. So here, I will not expect that you will read this text, but I want just to give attention on this first graph in the left about the ultra-fast optical transceivers, the need of higher speed, moving from 10 gigabits per second up to 400 gigabits per second. What we need to understand is at the single channel transmission, we have, for instance, photo detectors, devices with, but that must also increase the speeds, and that means shrink down the active areas. You can see here, as we go up in speed, 14 gig, 225, 50, 100, we need to shrink down the active areas, and then we get higher complexity in terms of fiber coupling. So let me now tell you what we do to solve this problem, and just show you a brief animation. I hope you can see it. So you can see here the fiber coming down. I hope you can see it. If you don't, you just let me know. You can see here the fiber, you can hear the component, the chip that can be a VCSEL or a detector. But here, let me focus on the detector side. So we have this spot size that must be reduced regarding the active areas. So what we will do, we will add this polymer integrated structure, this green material, that we have this taper shape, a vertical taper shape that will guide the light, guide the light between the fiber and these such small active areas. So if I now, let me just go back to the presentation up. So let me tell you about what is the add value that we bring to the community. First of all, is about the next generation ultra-fast chips with smaller active areas, allowing to go from 30 microns down to 1 micron active areas, reaching high-speed devices. We are also allowing not only shrink down the active areas, but also giving more tolerance to the fiber alignment in specific devices. We have a custom-made solution applicable not only in photodetectors on VCSELs, but also can think about other components such as silicon photonics devices. Applicable, well, I talked about communications, but we can also talk about in quantum and sensing applications. Indeed, we are working today, because if you think about VCSELs is a bit different. It's not about active areas, it's more about how we somehow control the diversion of the beam and allow me to get a good copy into the fiber, or also a good beam control on free space communication. So we are working on this next step that is going for a beam shaping and enhanced acceptance angle functionalities that we can bring with this solution. At last, what we bring is an industrial compatibility solution, because we do it at the wafer level with a monolithic integration over the entire wafer. So we have an entire wafer of 100,000 of devices, photodetectors with VCSELs, and we will have it in a single process, 100,000 of vertical integrated polymer structures on it. So what we can provide, what is our capabilities, is going from the design and testing. Of course, we have here different applications. I had here just a few just on communications aspects. We have here some which is a typical device, but again, it's more complex devices such as multi-core fibers. But also, since we are inspired by collective fabrication process, we can think about, well, we already demonstrate having these silicon features by wafer bonding directly to the wafer of the devices, and we can end these pre-coupled chips and advanced packaging systems that we can think about it. So we have here some fabrication results. We have the tapers always in the middle, but some anchoring systems that we can have different shapes. You can see here in these pictures. And of course, after the prototype, we have the possibility on fabrication and production with the possibility to have this high volume manufacturing transfer. I would like at the end to thank you, and of course thank you the support for MPIC. We are a proud member of EPIC since 2018, and please, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. That's what we do for the members. And do you have any questions first to the audience?
Well, I already.
Actually, I was asking the audience whether they have questions.
Sorry.
Okay, because maybe it's nice to say that EPIC is part of a European pilot line called PIXAP on photonic integrated circuits. So maybe you will have a lot to discuss with Anna, our project leader for this project. Okay, so that was very nice talk, and maybe you can tell us what kind of collaborations you expect, or what can people do?
Yes, I already heard a few that we can actually explore here on this online meeting about test systems at wafer level. That would be a possibility for us to work. Materials, we work with some polymer materials, but we are open to investigate different materials for different applications. We want also to push this technology. Of course, reliability is always an important process, important situation. And then we worked on communications, typical Calcordia tests, but we want to push this technology on cryogenic applications and also for space applications, radiation aspects. So we are looking for these kind of partners to work on that. Also, true, of course, as I told, we want to go from datacom, telecom, fiber coupling issues, challenges, to LiDAR, Wi-Fi, more on this direction. So we are open to work, to build, and to contribute to the issues in terms of micro-optics.
Yes, excellent. We had one of the biggest meetings on LiDAR with the biggest number of participants. Yes. And it looks like maybe you need to do more there, more meetings there. Okay, so the next speaker is from DELO. Oh, sorry.
I really want to help Icon Photonics. I really want to help because, Carlos, I really look up to you. You really are making a big difference in the field of micro-optics, and really you're bringing the interest from many datacom telecom companies, also from the semicon companies. You're one of the companies in Europe that I want the European Commission, I want all these pilot lines to help. If we don't manage, Rolando, if we don't manage to help Carlos and companies like Icon Photonics, we're failing. So I really want to understand how a pilot line funded by European Commission can help a startup, such a promising startup like Icon Photonics. What is the standard way for us, for Fabulous and CSEM as a coordinator to help Icon Photonics?
So Icon could qualify as a pilot case. I will explain later on in my talk what does it mean, but in very few words, in 1 year from now, we will be able to open calls for companies that would like to have pilot runs for freeform micro-optical elements, wafer scale up to roll. And if the company would like to build a synergy and use Fabulous to upscale production, I'm more than happy to discuss.
I think you're going to have to discuss this offline. Sure. I also have a friend here, from Optic Pulsers. Hi, John, how are you doing? Thank you for joining this afternoon. Could you tell us what Optic Pulsers does? Because I do believe that there is a clear synergy with what Icon Photonics is looking.
Yeah, hello everyone. Sorry, I just joined from 4 o'clock, so I missed the start. I had this.
That's not a problem. You're always in time.
So anyway, yeah, we are. In micro-optics, we are doing a lot of coatings, especially, I mean, coating is our business, thin film coatings in the visible, in the near infrared. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed to share too much because we don't have standard components. We only do custom solutions, also for very big customers. And but I would say we do a big share of the coatings on polymer optics, which are out there in the world. I would say a really big global share.
One of the things, Carlos, that I think is a clear collaboration with John is that I was very impressed. I went to visit Optic Pulsers, and they actually can do very small optical filters based on coatings on micro-optics. Okay. So if you are ever looking, I think you are, for actually having a filter of the wavelength for certain frequencies, this is a really clear collaboration, a success story, and I think Optic Pulsers is also happy to help the European startups here. So it's a clear collaboration.
Okay. Will do.
Back to my friend Sana. The floor is yours.
Very nice. So, because of time, we have to speak of another important part of micro-optics with the additive. So we will hear now from DELO. We will hear from Patrick.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for having this meeting here. Let me start the presentation. So it's great that you keep us connected in these difficult times. Sorry about that. You can see the presentation, right?
You can start the sharing. Did you start the sharing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we don't see it yet. So maybe can you try it? So on the bottom of the screen, there is the bar, and you can find the green. Very good. Now it's working.
Okay.
So, but
Fine.
okay, perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for keeping us connected in these difficult times. I put this talk on the homeschooling schedule of my daughter. I'm not sure if she's really that interested in that, but I will ask her later. So let's talk about materials, because they're a very important part, I think, of the whole supply chain that you try to bring together here. So DELO is a material manufacturer out of Germany. We're a family-owned business making roughly 160 million of revenue per year, having roughly 800 employees, most of them sitting in Germany, but we have offices, subsidiaries, and our experts wherever you are on the globe. So roughly 100 people are scattered around the globe, helping you wherever you are in either doing the designs of your micro-optics or getting your manufacturing lines up and ready for mass manufacturing. The idea is that we work with you from the beginning. So from your idea to really mass manufacturing, working on a material solution, a sensor, whatever your idea is, do something innovative and then bring it to mass production. This is an example of one of our products, or two products. These are macro lenses, I would say. It's a little bit larger than micro optics, and they have a very high reflow stability in terms of mechanical stability, structural stability, but also transparency, optical stability. And that's what we're focusing on: high reliable materials tailored for specific applications. And that could be whatever applications you're looking for. DOEs, very small structures, very high aspect ratios, small areas, grating couplers for augmented reality applications, sensors, really integrated sensors out of polymers, then monolithic lenses for flash applications, but also for automotive headlamps or microlens arrays for automotive headlamps, for these nice and shiny light carpets that Reinhard presented at an earlier talk. And as you can see, these applications, they span quite a wide range of areas and film thicknesses. So you can go from like hundreds of nanometers or below to really millimeters of layer thickness, and imprint areas from a couple of millimeters square to a couple of 1,000 millimeters square. And because of that, there's no one fits all product, but you need to customize the product in terms of their optical properties, the mechanical properties, their reliability, but also their processability. Rolando will give a talk, I think it's the next talk, about prototype lines or pilot lines for new kinds of optics. And you need to make sure that your materials are processable on a high volume scale. And we can do that with you and for you. And here's one example of mechanical modifications that we can do. So this is the area we can span in terms of mechanical hardness and CTE, so coefficient of thermal expansion. And you can see that we can span quite a large area here. Very hard products, very high modulus, Young's modulus, but also very soft products. And that whatever your application is, we can take the right product and tune it to your application. If you have a large size optical structures or a large area microlens array, you can have a lot of internal stress in these arrays, and you need a product that is slightly softer, but still scratch resistant, for example, but you don't want to have this internal stress breaking your structures or leading to fractures, stress fractures when it comes to thermocycling. Another very important point is refractive index modifications. So what you can see here is a chart of refractive index and Abbe number. So we can not only target a specific refractive index, but we can also tune the dispersion of the material, which is very essential when you're talking, for example, about augmented reality applications, where you have thin films that need to be matched to glass substrates. And all of that at the end has to go into a final product. So we need to make sure this is processable. We have the ability in-house to do processing tests. We can directly do imprints of test structures. We can then do the characterization of these structures, do the reliability testing of these structures. We have partners. Some of them are here in this call, in this meeting, that then can do the downstream processing, do the coating, do the dicing, and we can then again do the reliability and characterization. And that is very important, that you really have a material that can go through the whole supply chain, go through the whole manufacturing chain, and work in the end at the product of the end customer. And that's what we like to do. So you always ask, what can you do for them? What can they do for you? Give us the ideas. What do you have on your roadmap in 2 or 3 years? What can we work on? What new interesting materials do you have? What new applications do you have where you need special features in your materials? We're there to help you. We're there from the beginning to make sure the things work on a small scale, but also are scalable to high volume production at the end.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Great presentation. And now we have the whole supply chain here for you to identify what kind of challenges they have in terms of UV polymer. So are there any challenges on that? Anybody? We had a question in the beginning, so we go to optic valsers. John, let me unmute you. Don't have to, okay, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Heißler. Yeah, so it's very, oops, something happened there. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very glad to hear that you can tune your refractive index, because we are, well, for a while now, and I think you know, we are trying to optimize optical glass components, not necessarily for AR, but other type of components to the glue or to a polymer that is used to put something on the glass. And the big problem we usually encounter also with other people that do polymers used to put on glass is that there's always a minimum quantity that needs to be bought, which is usually a couple of kilograms. And you know, in development, you need like a little flask plus your budget also. Your budget is like for a little flask, and then and you guys are like wow, but you know it takes at least, I don't know, a certain amount, and usually it's kgs to get started and to customize. So is there anything, ideas, improvement on the way that because I think this could speed up also certain directions in optics
Sure.
if something more simple would be available.
I mean, let me quote Erhan on that. The first sample is always free. So
okay.
if we see a future market, a joint future market, then for sure we're open to joint developments. And then it's not about kgs, but we totally understand that small volumes are necessary to get a market started. But that's something we can discuss in an offline discussion for sure.
Yeah.
I would like to ask for the Santa Claus Christmas list on polymer. I think I have a question from Multiphoton, right? Ruth. Yes, let me unmute you. I think you're still muted. We see you, you look great, but we cannot hear you. Try to unmute yourself so we all can enjoy your voice. Yes.
Yeah, great. I got a question concerning the reflow soldering temperature. So you mentioned that you can go up to 260 centigrade. So I would be interested in a material which can go beyond, let's say, 300 centigrade. So do you have something on stock?
It's a matter of timing at the end. So we don't have materials, let's say we don't have optically clear materials that can withstand long-term storage in 300 degrees C. It's still polymers, so they will degrade at these very high temperatures. But a couple of minutes, yes, that's possible.
It's not about the long-term storage, it's just about the reflow soldering.
Yeah.
And other processes.
So we can test for various profiles, also higher temperatures.
Thanks.
Any further question, challenges? Yes, Carlos.
I was just asking the reverse question that was done previously. What about cryogenic temperatures?
So -40 is typical testing temperature. Going beyond that, below that is a challenge, and we don't have a whole lot of experience, I would say. The major impact I would see is the increase of modulus, of Young's modulus beyond these temperatures. But that's something that would be interesting to test. If you have the capability, let's talk about that.
Yes, Ruth, tell me.
About the cryogenic temperature. So did you try to fabricate something like samples and throw them just into liquid nitrogen and see what they do? Because I had 20 years ago, I had a project on detectors for space, and they did that testing. So they took some of our samples and just threw them into the liquid nitrogen, took them out again, and it survived about, I think, 15 or 20 cycles. So I'm very curious about your material.
That's fantastic. Well, we would be really eager and interested to test that. Yeah.
I noticed so far in the discussion that the challenge seems to be on the material, and we all more or less have identified which is the market segment for the two-photon polymerization, for the nanometer lithography, for the roll-to-plate and roll-to-roll. So once again, any other challenge on the material, on the polymer, any like Santa Claus Christmas leads from Dirk or from yes, from Ruth, of course. Ask away. We are here to serve you.
Sorry, because we have many customers with many, let's say, challenging requests, and I'm certainly looking for a material which is ultra soft. So when it comes to the Young's modulus, so what is the lowest you can reliably get?
What can you reliably measure? That's the main question, I would say.
So in the
not
view
what you can
of
get.
reliably measure and prepare the specimen for the measurement and the reliable.
So I would say we're comfortable with the optical materials at 100.1 gigapascal and 0.1, so 100 megapascal. And below that, it's definitely something we can offer. The question is, how reliable are these samples over lifetime? So do you see, do you get this tofu softness where it's getting really, the adhesion, the cohesion is getting lost?
I like the term tofu.
We have more challenges, but I want to see the views of James. In the beginning of the meeting, Badian was challenging us with a UV cured material with high index between 1.65 to 1.7 refractive index.
Right.
Do you have more challenges here? We have Fuji, we have Balsers, we have DELO. Everybody here is looking for answering your Christmas list.
So the Christmas list from a test standpoint is digital holographic microscope. That's how we measure the optics that we make. So we, because the nanoparticles are embedded in the monomer, we have to, one, create it digitally and then match that the optic to see if it matches digitally when we manufacture. So people who are doing large area DHMs is a need for us in the future.
Thanks a lot. And we have a question also from Neuchâtel, from Wilfred, from SUS MicroOptics. Go ahead.
Hi, very nice talk, Patrick. What about the high index and low shrinkage? So you showed the very high index materials. Is that possible for thick layers and with low shrinkage? Is that feasible, or?
We definitely have some materials that have high index, 1.7, around 1.7, and can be used in large areas or thick layers. Shrinkage is a topic here. So it's not a low shrinkage optimized product. we have shrinkages on the order of around 6 to 7% volumetric shrinkage.
Yeah. Okay.
Patrick, have I ever told you how happy I am that you are in EPIC? After every presentation that you ever give, I guess such a beautiful discussion is great. And I hope we're going to have a presentation also from DELO at the EPIC meeting on micro LEDs technology and applications. I also know that you're pushing that sector again. Once again, thank you for being part of EPIC. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now let's try to bring the whole story together. So we all heard about manufacturing, we heard about assembly, we heard about challenges in materials, and now Rolando has a fabulous way of making us work together. Rolando, thanks a lot. Grazie mille. No? Thank you very much for being with us, and let us know how to cooperate and be fabulous.
So I think it's okay. You see the slides. So good afternoon, and thanks again for having invited me to entertain you for the last 6 minutes. So I need to keep your attention alive for the next few minutes. So we heard a lot about micro-optics, micro-lens arrays. I would like to talk about a little bit about the future, so which is already present, as you will see. So the new era for micro-optics manufacturing and the final frontier. So first of all, from where I come from CSEM, which is a company in Switzerland, RTO, Research and Technology Organization. Our job is to develop technology platforms and transfer these technology platforms to companies. And among all the technology platforms we have, I'm responsible for the one on micro nano optics fabricated by UV imprint. We master the entire value chain at CSEM, wafer scale, and very soon roll to plate, since we have both in a machine from Morphotonics. We go from design and simulation to origination, tooling, replication. And when it comes to upscaling or mass manufacturing, what we do, we transfer this to our network. As you will see, we have a pretty good network of partners that can do the industrial upscaling. So then here you see some examples of nano and micro optical components that CSEM has fabricated in the past with UV imprint. If you focus on the right on the macro element, you see very small micro lenses, let's say 3 microns diameter, 5 micron pitch, micro lenses which are very much close to each other. So the gap is half a micron for 50 microns diameter. Micro lenses replicated, monolithically replicated on optoelectronic devices. Here are Fresnel micro lenses on VCSELs or pillars on micro pillars on LEDs. But you also see these funny shaped micro lenses, and this brings me to the real topic of what I would like to tell you today. It brings me to freeform micro optics, and this next part of my talk, which is fabulous. So CSEM, together with other 18 partners in Europe, is building up since the 1st of January a pilot line for freeform micro optics. So first of all, what we intend with freeform micro optics, because there are a lot of different interpretations. These are micro optical components like micro lens arrays, where you remove any constraint or any restriction on symmetry. So not only hemispherical structures, but you can have any type of micro optical structures. You see here in the images on bottom right, few examples. You can have steel structures that have some centrosymmetrical shape, but then you go also to structure with not any more symmetry, let's say not any more centrosymmetrical symmetry, up to structures here on the right with no symmetry at all. And this is a challenge, as we will see, for the fabrication, both, let's say, for the design, for modeling, for origination, as we have already mentioned, up to replication. Why we do this? Because, as you can see here on the left, there is a really strong interest from different types of industrial application or markets for freeform micro optics, but we are facing at the moment a very strong bottleneck, which is how we can fabricate these structures at industrial level. And it's where Fabulous comes. So what's Fabulous? Fabulous is a one-stop shop for manufacturing of freeform micro optics. It offers accelerated innovation and production cycles, manufacturing services going from prototyping to piloting to volume production. As you can see here on the right, we offer the entire value chain that is necessary to bring a free-form micro-optical component into a product onto the market. So who is Fabulous? First of all, Fabulous is born as a European funded project. As I said, 19 partners distributed in Europe. We have a few RTOs like CSEM, but we have mainly companies. So we have two types of partners. We have technology suppliers or providers, those who are providing the technologies along the value chain. But we have also in the consortium 6 end users, so companies that are nowadays needing already today free-form micro-optical components for their products. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to satisfy their needs. What Fabulous is bringing to you, so first answer to Jose's question, we are bringing to you the value chain, production services and UV imprint manufacturing, from modeling, origination, tooling, materials, and quality control. One parenthesis on origination to answer already another question from Jose. We have seen today some presentations about companies that can originate masters and molds. And it's very interesting. We have some of them on board in Fabulous, but we want to enlarge the club as much as possible. And I've already seen a couple of companies that who are not under my radar, like Sonics or JENOPTIK, and it would be good to link because there are things we can discuss together, how to interact. Others like Nanoscribe and Multiphoton optics are already under the radar because they are actually being involved in the advisory board of Fabulous. Then we go to production. We produce by wafer scale, roll to plate and roll to roll, and we integrate into products. And here are the use cases we are looking at the moment, which are also the hottest market at the moment for free-form micro-optics. This is solid-state transparent automotive lighting, augmented reality, virtual reality, micro displays, and luxury. How we intend to do it? So we intend to build this pilot line in the next 4 years. We'll be doing two things. We'll be doing a little bit of technology. So we'll be setting up the technology processes that are needed to satisfy the requests from customers, but we'll also taking care of managing the pilot line, create the legal entity that will cover the entire pilot line under one unique umbrella, and we'll be sure that this becomes sustainable. So what we'll be doing the first part of the project, first year and a half, we will accelerate and improve our technologies and we will be validating the technology against the use cases. So we are sure that we can satisfy requests from real customers. Then, as we were saying a few minutes ago, we will open what we call open calls for pilot cases, means companies that today need free-form micro-optical components and would like to have pilot runs on Fabulous. And with this, we'll be validating the business model so that at the end of the project, we are sure that the pilot line is sustainable and can continue operation. Why we do this? Well, the reason is simple. If you're a company that would like to integrate free-form micro-optical components in your product today, you have to do what is real in red. You have to start going through each point on the value chain, scouting all the players, finding the right one, finding those that are compatible. So you have at the end to build your own value chain, which is very difficult. It's sometimes a showstopper because these companies don't have maybe the competencies, but also the time, because this is really time consuming. So this is something, a bottleneck that is actually keeping away from micro-optics or free-form micro-optics several companies in Europe. We want to bridge this gap. How? We create one structure with one unique entry point for the customer. And behind this entry point, there is the entire value chain that is provided to the customer. For whom we are doing this, these are all the types of markets or application domains that are today requesting free-form micro-optical components. We are not saying this out of the blue sky, is because in the proposal phase, we were scouting in Europe among companies that could be potentially interested, and we got already letter of interest or good feedback already now requests from at least between 40 and 50 different companies at different sizes, from startups up to big companies that are active in these markets. And with this, I'd like to thank you for your attention, reminding you that MicroOptics is fabulous. And these are my contact data if you want to contact me. And with this, I hope I kept the time schedule and I'm done.
Thank you so much, Rolando. As EPIC is responsible for the dissemination of this project, we're totally aware of how important this is. And you answered the first question of Jose, but still the second question. What can they do for you? What kind of collaboration could Fabulous offer?
Well, there are two types of things that companies can do for us, depending where they are sitting on the value chain. As I say, if we are talking about technology providers like the originators, material providers, providers of solutions for metrology, we are very much open to open up our club, because we intend actually to create an entire ecosystem in Europe around micro-optics, but more specifically freeform micro-optics. So today we have a consortium that is building the pilot line. We'll have founding members of the pilot line, but in the future, we want to enlarge the pilot line, so bringing on board new members that will profit from Fabulous. How they will be profiting? They will be profiting because Fabulous will bring them business that otherwise they will not be able to have because of this bottleneck between the companies and the value chain. On the other side, if you're talking about companies that are looking to integrate freeform micro-optical components or bringing freeform micro-optical components to production level, well, we can discuss and they could be eligible as pilot cases.
This is wonderful. We have a guest here that we didn't hear from, Britt from Top-Hand Photomasks. Sorry. I unmute you. Hello, how are you?
Hello, yes.
Do you have a question? Or
No,
how do you find the meeting? How do you find the meeting?
No, I find it very interesting. So Top-Hand Photomasks is quite new, I guess, to this this forum. We make advanced photomask masks for the semiconductor industry, but of course all of our techniques and technology can be used also for many applications within the photonics world. And we're very interested to get in contact with the customers or the people here that need NIL and other optical masters or whatever. So I'm learning a lot and very happy to be part of this. So thank you.
Thank you. And from Fujifilm, Ksenia, how do you find this meeting? You've been to other meetings, right?
Meeting, of course, as all other meetings, EPIC meeting, very interesting, and thank you again for keeping us connected. Of course, there are a lot of interesting, let's say, connections. I started already collaboration, and I'm starting with another also EPIC members collaboration. Yeah, thank you again.
Wonderful. I think earlier I saw Erhan from Morphotonics with a question raising his hand, but we were a little too fast. I don't want the meeting to end without you asking your question.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks again, like everyone else said, for connecting us during this crazy time, unprecedented time. Yeah, I was just going to mention and make a comment about what Patrick was talking about from DELO on the high refractive index, going beyond 1.7 to 1.8 to 1.9, and the needs there that he sees, especially with regards to AR. But I was wondering if there's any other, applications that they are seeing from a materials perspective where such high refractive indexes, are used. That's one. And the second one, just while I have the microphone, to Rolando, given what he's talking about, going beyond the 5 years or 4 to 5 years, where does he see the Fabulous project go? I mean, the whole idea of a one-stop shop for freeform optics is wonderful. Coming from a micro-LED company previous to Morphotonics where I was working at, I mean, that's definitely an area, as he said, it's very fragmented. But eventually someone, who wants to do this in high volume wants to have that one-stop shop continue and transition to maybe having a partnership or something like that for production. So I was just wondering about his thoughts. So that's all I have to say. But again, thank you all for organizing this.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Rolando.
So, where I see Fabulous, so that I can tell you what is my dream, but I like also to make dreams real. And we'll be trying hard to do this. It's that we would like to establish this one-stop shop in Europe as, let's say, a network, more than a network, a pilot line with real know-how that remains in Europe, But from Europe, we would like at a certain point to start serving the world in two ways. We can work for customers abroad, in everywhere else in the world. But also we would like also to establish partnerships, because to a certain extent, or for certain markets, or for certain volumes, we will not have capacity for production in Europe. These capacities are in other places, like for example, for this place, Asia, but we can bring there our technologies and licensing the technologies from Europe, but keeping in Europe the know-how, the basic know-how, the R&D, and the prototyping and piloting activities, which are those, in my view, with the highest added value.
Thank you so much. Does anybody want to add something?
Maybe I can comment quickly on the high refractive index part of the question or comment. We've seen these high refractive index requests for quite some time coming from various applications in the consumer electronic field or world. And I think that it really got a drive with this AR technology. My belief is that as soon as we get these materials into a broader market and up to volume, then these will naturally phase into other products as well. So we will see them appear in other optical products, in sensors, in cameras, wherever, because they open up new possibilities and new designs that get possible with higher refractive indices that are not possible by now.
Just a comment from my side. I cannot comment about the details because these are projects with industrial customers, but there are first requests or first application fields for these high refractive index materials which go beyond AR, VR. They go to consumer electronics, they go to smartphones. This is coming. That's a message to you as DELO. We are discussing actually about such of these topics to push forward the development of high refractive index materials.
Absolutely.
We have a late show up from Alta UK. Oh, you want to say something, Ruth?
So you had somebody already. I just raised my hand so that you
We want to hear from you, Ruth. What's on your mind?
No, what is in my mind is this high refractive index material stuff is quite some old story actually from the application point of view. So at my time at Fraunhofer, we did a lot in terms of high refractive index materials. And there are also products from Nissan Chemical Corporation in Japan, which have that in license. So there are either the direction to go to very low refractive index materials or to high refractive index materials. So if you're interested in that, you should probably look to Japan as well.
For me, it has been a great meeting. I really learned a lot. The idea for me is that I, at the same time, I'm listening to you. I am managing the YouTube channel, asking questions, getting questions, and also taking notes. So I was taking notes and I was trying to understand a little bit what we can do together. Let me share with you the notes that I took. So basically, let me just make the screen a bit easier to read. For me, it was clear that we had different manufacturing processes. We can start from two-photon polymerization and go all the way to roll, and all of them, they look to me extremely mature. I think we are not only ready for business, we are ready for mass production business, and we have the unique technology as well as the equipment. That was a clear conclusion here. It was very well spot on by Rolando. Not only you get the IP, not only you get the manufacturing, you get the machines. So the same way that SUS MicroOptics has SUS Microtech providing the equipment, it was very clearly said that Multiphoton and Nanoscribe not only provide equipment, but they also can help with the companies with the services. And it was also clearly stated by Morphotonics that they can actually go to any market for any volume. Even they were talking about displays and the mobile phone displays all the way to consumer electronics. That was for me a great learning. When we talk about the challenges, there were two sets of challenges. On one hand was the metrology. Sensofar, in my opinion, gave a great presentation. Roger, I borrowed one beautiful picture from your presentation. I put it there. Courtesy of Sensofar. I feel free to get courtesies of people without asking. But the idea here is that there is a lot of room to cover because, in my opinion, when it comes to metrology, everybody is still not working together. There is no clear set of standards for metrology of free-form wafer level micro-optics. There, we really have to work together on having a metrology solution that offers high speed, low cost, and that can actually be linking companies like NTS, like Sensofar. We're going to work a little bit on that. I think Steel Optics is listening. I also want you to be in the floor here. And the other set of challenges was very clearly on the materials. And I think that made Patrick extremely happy today. We are talking about UV curable, we are talking about very high and very low refractive index, low shrinkage, low and ultra high temperature, thick layers, they are actually thick layers, very thick layers of stable polymer UV curable for the imprint of SUS. That's a clear aspect that, in my opinion, is not only it's not a challenge, it's a huge opportunity for the material suppliers. And here they were represented by DELO, by Fuji, and by Optics Valses. When you were talking between the lines, you mentioned a lot of applications. I wrote down what you were mentioning, I was writing them down, and I saw them. They were talking at some point. Everybody mentioned automotive. You mentioned augmented reality. You mentioned solid-state lighting. Everybody mentioned photovoltaics. We mentioned anti-counterfeiting. We mentioned optical elements, images, packaging of silicon photonics. We mentioned consumer electronics, and we even mentioned wearables. So the world is really our oyster. We had the best technologies covering from the ultra low cost to the ultra high definition nanometer resolution, with the metrology and the materials to offer everyone in the world and in the YouTube universe, hello everyone, every solution available in the market. Thank you for a great afternoon. I really enjoy. I love MicroOptics, but I also love all of you. I hope you got as much from the meeting as I did, but I also hope that you understand that this meeting is not a webinar. It is not about having technologies being presented, but it's about the follow-up. Sana and me did our best chairing the meeting, making it fun, but the ball is in your court. It is now time for you to use this opportunity to engage and to work together. There is a lot of room for working together on this. I would like to remind also the people in the YouTube universe that if you have any question or you want to contact any of the participants, please do send me an email at jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com, jose.pozo@epic-asoc.com. Please contact me if you want to have contact with any of the participants today. They are looking forward to working with you and looking forward to keep working with them. Until the next time, thank you very much once again. You are epic. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you, Jose.
Thanks, everyone.